welcome to episode number 3 of Ugly Duckling and the Bright Orange Future. I'm Cory Clipston, your co-host, along with my real-life Gen X brother, Matty G.
What's up, my brother?
Doing all right, and I'm also Gen X. I'm just like the tail end, and you're like closer to the front end of the whole generation.
If you go,
right?
I'm basically almost the beginning of it, right? Like, or is it like close. 68? Is it born in 68, 69?
Honestly, lately I feel like they've been extending it up to like 64, 65, but like that doesn't make sense to me.
The inflation, but yeah.
I mean,
because otherwise, what's before Gen X?
Boomers.
Just boomers? Yeah, boomers. So Gen X is bigger than because boomers, you're differently. Yeah. If you were born in 65, you're not a boomer, I don't think.
But it's funny at this moment in time with the system falling apart and the boomers and the millennials fighting it out all the time. It's like, but what about us? What about Gen X? You know?
Well, yeah. What about us? What about the Gen X? I tell you, I was going down the rabbit hole when I was watching U2 at the Live Aid in 1985. Mm-hmm. You know, the Bob Geldof concert. Yeah. It was such a big deal, and all day live music streaming around the world. It was incredible. You know? And I tell you what Gen X did have going was some amazing music throughout. You know.
Yeah, it was a great era to grow up. The last sort of mass culture generation with, everybody kind of listening to the same things, at least in the Western world. It's kind of interesting.
You know what I stumbled upon was Madonna in the midst of all of these rock bands doing Live Aid. I mean, Madonna at Live Aid, 85. This is right at the cusp of her just taking over the world. Right. I mean, she's there. Yeah. But she's still, and she comes out and she does Holiday, and she is dynamite. She absolutely destroys it. It is such a killer performance, and she's doing all of this dancing and she's singing it. You can tell it's live. There's no fakery going on, and she's killing it. I mean, it is. It's really good. It's really worth watching.
Madonna brings the heat. That was not really what I expected out of the conversation there. I love it.
Yeah. It really surprised me how good she was. I mean, it's actually kind of stunning. Yeah.
But it's as they say, one does not simply stumble upon Madonna.
No, one does not.
Okay. So, new tradition. We decided that Thursday shows or Thursday tapings, we'll probably put this out generally Friday mornings or late Thursday night, but we're bringing drinks.
Are we bringing drinks?
For Thursday afternoon shows.
You mean
I hope you brought. Cheers. I hope you brought a beer. I was going to say, but
cheers.
Yes, I've got my my Suntory time.
Suntory.
In honor of one of our favorite movies from back in the day, Lost in Translation with Bill Murray. For a good time, make it Suntory time. It was one of my favorites. But yeah, it's actually fantastic whiskey, and I got it because I wanted it for Bitcoin podcasts, because Satoshi Nakamoto being a Japanese name, even though probably not a Japanese dude, just felt like fun to have some Japanese whiskeys.
I hear you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That is good. That looked better on YouTube probably than it sounds on a podcast, but that was a really good sip.
I forgot that I was on video there for a second, and I did such a clumsy pour. I mean, it looks like I don't even,
Listen,
I was going left-handed, that's why. I'm right-handed.
At least you could lift your hand, though.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
So listen, we're kind of dialing in on our show being about like Gen X music and Bitcoin. Those are always going to be kind of the standbys. So let's just do this show. We covered some Gen X stuff. I want to talk some music stuff, and I had a question for you, which I think in the future when we start having guests in a week or two, we're probably always going to ask this question of everyone. And basically what it is I want you to think about a musical artist or a band that has meant a lot to you in your life, that had staying power. So the artist had staying power, but also like your relationship or your love for their music or for them as an artist had staying power. And who is that? And what did they mean to you, or what did they mean to you?
Whoa.
So I want people to go deep and just think about how music connects to their lives, and just kind of have like a heartfelt convo about music, which is, you know, one of the universal languages.
Mm. Mm-hmm. The
I feel like I know what
The Book of Love has
you.
music in it.
There it is.
Some of it is transcendental.
That's true.
Yeah. Some of it is really bad.
And sometimes good music happens to bad people, which was a Howard Stern line about a Backstreet Boys song.
Yeah. But that's a good question. You know, like, we haven't answered that question really. We haven't. But, you know, I have some examples of that pop into my head.
You would have more than most because music has been your life basically for so long.
Wilco and Pavement
are
2 bands, and Pavement probably first.
Yeah.
So like Pavement, I got a cassette tape from my friend Chris that had Slanted and Enchanted on it. On both sides. On both sides of the cassette tape.
First album?
Well, when I got it, this is the thing. I was a little late to the party. The real hip kids were already onto Pavement for a good year and a half before I got a piece, and before Chris hipped me into it. And Chris is like this Minnesota kid, went to film school, and just deep into the music, has been full of the best music suggestions throughout our friendship. But one of the great moves, he slipped me this cassette tape, and I was driving a 1976 Dodge Dart Swinger at the time, a lovely car, one that was handed down to me, actually. And I'm driving around in this thing, and I start listening to Slanted and Enchanted on repeat every day for the entire summer, And I think the reason it kind of blew me away was the sound, first of all, was different and more accessible to my sensibilities than anything that I was listening to at the time. And it was lo-fi. If you don't, I mean, a lot of people will know who Pavement is, but they had kind of they had a long career, and had many different sounds as they went through. But you got to start with Slanted and Enchanted. That's the key. Is you start with Slanted and Enchanted, then you become hooked, and then you'll go through the entire catalog. But oh my God, Slanted and Enchanted. Steve Malkmus is the lead singer. He has a very droll delivery style and a witticism of lyrics that are great. Spiral Stairs was the lead. So it's they didn't put their names in the first album. I remember that. Steve Malkmus was SM,
right,
and Cannonberg, who's the other guitar player, was Spiral Stairs. And then they had Bob Nastanovich, who is like this extra.
He's the guy that just yells occasionally, right?
Oh, they had. Oh, I fell in love with that too. I'm like, are you kidding me? They have a guy in the band who just is a hype man, who's just like, you know, singing along on the choruses and playing an extra drum, and like you said, playing the kazoo and shit. It was awesome. And they really influenced what I tried to sound like as a songwriter too for a long time. I definitely took their style and felt liberated because it just felt like it was open and free and not constrained by perfection, you know, and jangly and gorgeous. I loved it. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to play a few bars of Trigger Cut, the second track.
Oh,
see if it...
Oh yeah, that probably sounds horrible to people, but
It's okay because we can link to it.
you gotta do your research.
They can Google Pavement, and I'm glad you mentioned DYOR because that's basically what we say every damn day in the Bitcoin space. Do your own research. All you got to do is like hear a term or hear the name of a band or hear about a song, and then you can do your own research because we all have access to the internet.
That's right.
Well, I want to thank you for passing Pavement down to me. I think I may have gotten the same cassette tape you're talking about.
I think you did. Yeah.
And I also became obsessed, although not with all 5 albums. For some reason, it was like the first, the second, and the 5th that hit for me. And then I got super into his work, his solo work with Stephen Malkmus and the Jicks. And so that was probably
it's great.
More my era. But
Wowie Zowie was amazing.
Yeah. But so this is interesting, and this will kind of tie into there was nothing disposable about that music, and it was the kind of music that got better the longer you listen to it and the more you listen to it. And it wasn't all over pop radio or anything like that, but there's still people today. You're not the only one. I have a lot of friends, especially in the West Coast or in New York City, where Pavement's still their favorite band, or like the first thing that'll come to mind if you say like, who's the best indie band of all time, things like that. Like Pavement's often in the conversation.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, what do you think, what were some of the ingredients? Like what made them special, or what made Steven or that group of people put out music that stood the test of time?
Good question. I mean, I think sometimes there is a moment in time when I just there's something in the air, and I think Pavement was very, had their influences and kind of took it and twisted it a little bit, but I think the reason it stands up is just the songs are good. Underneath all of it, are really good songs with good lyrics, and like he knew. I mean, there's good song structure there. Steve Malkmus, might have made it look like he was a slacker and he just tossed these songs off, but he's a craftsman, and he's really, really good.
Yeah.
And that's why they stand up. Yeah.
Love it. Well, great. Well, it's time for a word from our sponsor, which is my company that I run, called swanbitcoin.com. And, we like to talk about things that last and things that matter, because that's really what Bitcoin is all about. It's low time preference. It's sound money. It's something that's going to be around for a long time, that holds its value through, it's structured to hold its value through the decades, unlike, fiat money, which is designed to inflate away and to be worth less over time. So that's just something, again, do your own research a bit about Bitcoin. If you get to the point where you want to buy some Bitcoin, swanbitcoin.com is the best place to do that in the United States. We let you set up automatic recurring purchases where every week or every paycheck or every month, there's a pull from your bank account, automatically purchase the Bitcoin, and then free automatic withdrawal to your self-custody if you want, or we'll keep it for you for free, as long as you need to keep it with us until you kind of learn more about Bitcoin. So that's what swanbitcoin.com is. And we are by far the lowest fees in the US for that, undercut Coinbase by 60 to 80%, and anywhere from like 30 to 60% less than Cash App to do automatic recurring purchases. So please check it out. Get in touch with me if you have any questions, and happy to have you be part of the Swan family. Maddie G, you and I are going through the process of learning about Bitcoin. I've been doing it for 3 years, so I'm a little bit further ahead. And one of the fun things we get to do on this show is talk a little bit about Bitcoin. And your homework always is to bring a Bitcoin question for me, which I'm always going to try to answer, but I got to tell you, like, yes, I've been doing it for 3 years, but if you don't stump me today, there will be a time when you stump me, and I will make you ask another question and come back with the answer on a future show after going and finding the answer from somebody who's much smarter about Bitcoin than I am. That said, hit me. What you got?
What do I have? I have this question. This one simple question. What happens when all 21 million Bitcoin are mined?
It's a good question.
Because to me, and then or maybe I should just ask it like that. Like I have a reason I'm asking that question.
No, go ahead. Give me the reason, and I'll try to address.
Because my understanding is that for the transactions to be being made, there has to be mining going on. Mm-hmm. So then I was trying to think, well, when everything's mined, and then there's still transactions going on, and then you know what I mean? Yeah,
I do. Well, okay. you've definitely heard of transaction fees, right? You know that when you send a Bitcoin transaction, you pay a little bit of a fee.
True.
So basically, over time, the fees that you pay for the transactions will become more and more of a percentage of the block reward. So every 10 minutes, when a new block is mined, when the new solution to the hash problem is discovered, and somebody wins the Bitcoins for that block, you're pointing out that in the year 2140 there will be no more Bitcoin, because every 4 years the amount of Bitcoin that is doled out in a Coinbase transaction is halved. So right now we're getting 6.25 Bitcoins every 10 minutes ish. It's about 900 Bitcoins a day. And, in 2024, when it halves again, it'll be 450 Bitcoins a day. And then 2028, it'll be 225 Bitcoins a day. So it just keeps on getting fewer and fewer, right? And, the concern is, as we call FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, is what happens when, the block reward or the mining subsidy isn't enough to incentivize the miners to secure the network and to essentially include these transactions in the block. And basically, the game theory of it is that block space, so wanting to include your transaction in the block, gets more scarce over time because there's so many more people. Like right now, there's somewhere between 7 and 70 million people that own a little bit of Bitcoin and send transactions, and over time,
seven and how many?
7 to 70, somewhere.
7 to 70 million.
It's really hard to figure it out.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
So it's somewhere between like 0.1 and 1% of people on Earth have some Bitcoin. There's not that many users of the blockchain right now. In the future, it'll be very, very competitive.
How come we don't know how many exactly Bitcoin holders there are? Is that
because one person can have lots of Bitcoin addresses, and Bitcoin is pseudonymous or close to anonymous, depending on how good you are with privacy technologies. And then you can have more than one address, but also an exchange or a custodian could keep lots of people's Bitcoin in one address and just keep their own spreadsheet, basically saying what people own. So there's two countervailing forces. You could have more or less people given the number of addresses.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So the number of addresses is establishing kind of the high end of the estimate, 50 to 70 million. And, but there are a lot of people that have multiple addresses. So, people that get into the science of it think the number of people is quite a bit lower.
Well, that makes it confusing.
Well, let's unpeel it a little bit. No, it is. No. It's okay. So, but basically, over time, to answer the specific question, over time, people will pay more to have their transaction included. And, even going back 8, 9, 10 years when people were writing about the future of Bitcoin, they kind of assumed that the Bitcoin blockchain would be for settlement, between people that were aggregating transactions from a lot of different people. So, you'll have financial institutions that may even be the same financial institutions we have today, or new ones that kind of build up to serve specifically a Bitcoin economy. And they'll have a lot of transactions going on their internal ledger, where, essentially like IOUs to each other, and then you'll settle up once a day or something like that. And we'll find out that, hey, this Bitcoin bank in Germany owes some Bitcoin to a Bitcoin bank in New York. And then that's worth sending because, a transaction might cost $50 versus, a few cents today. But it's a lot cheaper than, wires or sending, gold by boat or something like that. So it becomes this kind of
it's not like a crazy
rate.
Fee or something. It's just it's an appropriate fee. At that
point. Because you can fit a lot of transactions in a 1 megabyte block.
And you said, yeah. And that doesn't happen until 2140, give or take.
It'll just like the lines will cross over time. So sometime in the next couple decades, you'll probably see transaction fees being more than the block subsidy, depending on what happens with the Bitcoin.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
one simple question, and then a whole bunch of stuff unfolds.
That's how that will work. Yeah, that's why they call it, peeling the onion, going down the rabbit hole. Yeah.
Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. Dang. Don't listen to those fuddy-duddies.
Fuddy-duddies. Yeah. It's no way to live a life.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So what you got coming up for the weekend?
Not too much. I've got a free weekend on my hands. It is possible that we'll try to get out of town and do a night of camping.
Nice.
We unsuccessfully camped 4th of July weekend because it was a complete madhouse. And it was a complete mad woods. Got out to the campground, and the camp host had completely lost control. People were just staking claims and not recognizing reservations. And it was just like, this is pretty Mad Max out here. I guess we're not going to get a place because we didn't have a reservation for the second night. So yeah. So that didn't work out. So we might try that again.
It seems like a worthwhile endeavor if you can get it done.
We like to camp. We like to get out there.
Yeah. Nice.
Margot just got a new scooter. So she's pretty stoked. And there's no better place to take a scooter than the campground. That's like scooter paradise. So
absolutely.
How about you?
That'll be good. I don't know, more of the same. We're just trying to get better at getting out of the house and doing excursions, even if it's just going down to the lake. And we got a wagon, which is life-changing for a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And so they can actually sit opposite each other.
Okay.
And it's a really easy gliding wagon. So I can even tow it up really nasty hills, and it's not too much of an exertion. So we're really enjoying that, trying to get out every afternoon and do a little wagon ride and using it for bigger excursions on the weekends. But that's life for young parents, is how can you entertain the youngins? It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But the big deal, and actually, I just realized one of our first guests has to be another Bitcoin podcast host named Daniel Prince. And the reason I want to bring him on is he's been world schooling his kids for years. Essentially just kind of like traveling around the world and letting them do online education and finding local tutors for different subjects wherever they live and things like that. And my daughter Isla's school just went virtual for K through 12, and has opened up enrollment to like Nevada and Arizona and the rest of California after being just a Malibu, Calabasas school for 13 years. It's gonna be really interesting to see that and see, kids dialing in for class with a bunch of 5 and 6 year olds from 3 different states, and see how that goes. So I think with your experience, having been a teacher and a program director at Clearwater for 8 years, and what Daniel's doing and what I'm now about to experience, I might just selfishly ask you guys a bunch of questions.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah. Well, listen, let's wrap this one. We're trying to keep these around like 20, 30 minutes, something like that. Audience, you few, you proud, you new fans of Ugly Duckling and the Bright Orange Future or Swan Signal or whatever, Seattle music scene, however you found this, please do us a favor. And today, as you're listening to this right now, tell one friend about Ugly Duckling. Send them a text with the link to youtube.com/swansignal or uglyducklingpodcast.com and let them know. And make sure to subscribe to this if you're listening to a podcast app, or if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll let you know when the next one is up. We're trying to stick to this schedule. It doesn't seem too hard. It seems repeatable. Seems like we can do 2 a week, Monday and Thursday, drop them to the public on Tuesday and Friday. Doesn't seem too undoable. I'm excited, man.
I'm having a great time. It's great hanging out with you on the regular.
Yeah, what a motivational trick. I feel like, these guys that talk about habits like James Clear and Tim Ferriss and these guys, like what a habit to force yourself to record a podcast by getting to talk to your brother.
Yeah, I know. It's a brilliant move.
I was like, that's the only way I'm going to do it. I told my team, I was like, the only way I'm going to do this consistently is if like I'm talking to my brother.
Yeah, this is good. Good job, team.
There you go. Yeah. So, it's kind of a thing, by the way, in Bitcoin podcasts to have some sort of animal call. So I'm not saying that you have to decide what your animal call is going to be for like an outro or for an exclamation of some sort, but you might want to think about it for Monday's recording and have something in mind. The most famous one is Marty's owl. So it's Marty Bent, who we'll have on eventually. And he'll tell us how to do a real owl call. But,
is that right?
Yeah, you should probably.
What? I just heard I don't know what I heard.
That was strange. I don't know what that was.
Just some sort of bird.
Some sort of bird.
Anyway, the Seahawk.
The Seahawks is a good one. So there it is. Episode 3, Ugly Duckling in the Bright Orange Future. Maddie G, thank you for joining.
Absolutely.
It was truly a pleasure. Do you have any beer left in your glass?
I do.
Okay, well, let's do bottoms up here as we finish.
Thumbs up.
Finish mine.
Yours.
All right. This party's over. See you
Peace
next
out.
time. All right.
All right.